Ladies and gentlemen, it is week 14. We are on the precipice of fantasy playoff glory. It is Kevin Tompkins. It is Andrew Cooper. It is Britt Flinn who will be joining us straight from ESPN Chattanooga. It is Lightning Round, Better Sports Network, Fantasy Alarm YouTube. Coop, my man, we are on the doorstep of the fantasy playoffs. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. In fact, everyone was complaining about this week. Maybe I have a lot of weird players, but my team steamrolled this week. I had a lot of players that were like 6 wins, 7 wins, and I needed to win. I won in like every league. So I don't know. Maybe I got a lot of Joe Mixon. Maybe that's what it is. But good week all around. Interesting game for him for sure, because Chase Brown played a lot there, huh? A lot more than I thought.
Well, Chasey B, yeah. Let's bring in straight from ESPN Chattanooga. Britt Flynn, what is going on?
Oh, just another day. A lot of injury news. I was slapping the keyboard because news just broke that Christian Kirk needs surgery. Yeah. So not excited about that. Also lost Trevor Lawrence, and my backup is Sam Howell. So that's going to be fun to navigate. But that's why we're here, because we deal with the same problems you guys deal with.
Oh, some of us even lose Tim Boyd. None of us lost Tim Boyd.
Oh, my God. How bad is that, though? You're signing Brett Rypien, who looked very, very bad in the one game that he played this year, but you're just so out on Tim Boyle and just so done with him that you're going to sign Rypien, and then Zach Wilson doesn't even want to play. Like, that is a disaster going on in New York, and nobody is putting the blame on Nathaniel Hackett. Maybe the reason that these quarterbacks don't want to play and don't succeed is because of Hackett. And I know that Howard Bender has harped on that as our resident Jets fan, but we look at what he did to Russell Wilson and how much better Wilson has looked this year. Do you think that he's going to do better with a developmental quarterback who needs some work? No. Nobody wants to play quarterback for Hackett except Aaron Rodgers, and he can't.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like, if I'm Zach Wilson, I kind of love this move by him. I kind of think it's a genius move, right? Just say, you know what? These guys are the problem. They're screwing everything up for me. They're making me look bad. I'm done with it. So I'm ready to move on to the next team where I'm going to shine. Like, why would I continue to play in this situation that keeps making me look terrible? So, you know what? I think it's kind of a power move by him. I kind of love it.
Well, that's what I said too, that, we actually just had this discussion on ESPN. Do you want Wilson to go back out there and show that he's willing to play, that he has that competitive nature? And then I countered with saying, if he plays in a system that makes him look bad, where nobody wants him, he could actually be damaging his career further.
Right. And then he gets hurt. And then if he gets hurt.
Right. Yeah. So there are just a lot more risks that go along with it. And I would be demanding a release after this season if I were Zach Wilson.
Well, Tim Boyle already got that sweet release. So, I mean, he's probably looking at a life of coaching, I would say, because as we know, the worst quarterbacks become the best coaches. They are the backup quarterback is the catcher of the NFL, basically, where every mediocre catcher becomes a great manager. Joe Girardi, right on down the line.
Yeah, the more years you can hang on as a quarterback in the room that doesn't play, the better coach you're going to be. That's why I look, and honestly, it's smart to hang on as long as you can, because the $1 million veteran minimum for these guys is much better than whatever the coaches are getting. So if you could be that Davis Webb that teams want to bring in just because you're smart, then just do it as long as you can, because you can always coach after.
Daniel, Josh McCown.
Look at Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson.
Right.
Perfect.
I will throw out Brandon Allen from Arkansas. Just floated around from team to team to team. Just been a backup his entire career.
A plastic bag in the wind, Brandon Allen. So we're gonna, we want to talk about some, last minute advice for teams that are heading into the fantasy playoffs. Certainly hope that you are holding on to stacked rosters, but you know what? There's a lot of advice that we do have for teams that are heading into the playoffs, and I'll hit on mine real quick. Don't waste roster spots on guys you are never going to start. Like, I don't know of any situation where you're starting Tyler Boyd, KJ Osborne. Just let somebody else handle those landmines, and it's totally fine to grab a bunch of, I am notoriously anti-handcuff. I am just a straight on the other side of the aisle when it comes to handcuffs. But this time of the year where these guys, you could get the next CJ Anderson that could be a playoff monster and win you a championship. Those are the guys you want to be able to get your hands on, guys like these. Like, look at the Patriots. Now they're going to be starting Zeke Elliott. But who's the next man up? Is it Ty Montgomery, JaMychal Hasty potentially? I mean, these are the guys you want to take some flyers on. Certainly Chase Brown. We talked about him real quick before the show. That was very interesting to see him get more carries with Joe Mixon healthy. So he could be a guy that maybe turns into a scratch-off ticket. If the Bengals are eliminated, he might get more run toward the very end of the season with Joe Mixon being a free agent. So, I'm not holding on to, 5, 6, 7 point floor guys that don't have the upside for more. There's no reason to hold on to these guys. I would drop them, let somebody else worry about them, and then get potential handcuffs down the road. What do you guys think?
Yeah, you got to know what the outs are, right? Like with Tyler Boyd especially, we've seen Jamar Chase be hurt. We've seen T. Higgins be hurt. He never really steps up into like a massive role, even in those instances, right? And now they have the backup quarterback going. So, the upside just isn't there. If you're going to do anything, again, go for matchups, go for guys that are handcuffs to your own guys, especially at this stage. The thing with handcuffs, and the reason a lot of the old heads say you should handcuff, is because back in the day, it was a much more viable strategy. Like back in 2000, I was looking at some numbers back in 2003, Priest Holmes got 300 and something carries and Larry Johnson got 20. And then the next season started and Priest Holmes, the first 7 games, got every carry and Larry Johnson got 1. And then when Priest Holmes got hurt, Larry Johnson scored 11 touchdowns over the final 6 games. So back then, it was a much more viable strategy. Now, with the split backfields and stuff, it isn't like that. So that's why it still carries over. But in fantasy playoffs, you got to try and go for guys that have actual upside. So I'm totally with you, Kev. Like, I'm cutting bait with a lot of those guys. A guy that I'm looking at, I want to get your opinion on this, is I've been looking at I had planned on dropping Romeo Doubs, but now with the Christian Watson news, I don't know, I might keep him because he was kind of falling in that category for me. Where you guys stand on a player like that? Like, is the injuries to Musgrave and Christian Watson enough to move the needle there, or is he just another one of those guys that I'm better off letting somebody else go for that guy?
I think it is. He's on my waiver wire article because we saw in the beginning of the season with Watson out that Doubs was the guy. He was not only getting targets, but he was a very big part of their red zone offense. I know that now we've seen the emergence of Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and even Tucker Kraft to some extent. But what Doubs showed us in last week's game against the Chiefs, he is still that guy. Jordan Love still has a repertoire or a rapport with him. And their schedule is so good going into the end of the season. Like their schedule, super soft. They've got the Colts, Vikings, Steelers, and then the only one that's semi-difficult is against the Chiefs, but we've already seen them, I'm looking at somebody else. I'm looking at the Bengals schedule. That's my bad.
Packers have Giants, Tampa, Carolina, Minnesota.
Right. So even better.
Right.
Could it get any better? Well, it just
even better.
All right, I'll hang on to him.
Well, I just want to say I'm really into the whole Dontavian Wicks thing because Green Bay they always have these guys that they seem to just trust. And it seemed like Romeo Doubs was that last year. Dontavian Wicks is that guy last year. Like they seem to grab like 2 or 3 of like one position. And then it always seems like the lower end guy ends up finding his way into snaps, into targets. Like Dontavian Wicks in his last 5 games healthy has at least 4 targets. Granted, it's 4, 4, 4, 5, and 4, but he's being targeted when he's on the field. He has targets per route run in about the 25, 26 range. So look, if Christian Watson is out, I can see Dontavian Wicks getting up into that 60, 70% route share. Granted, it's not super great, but it's upside with this Packers offense going as well as it is right now.
I mean, why wouldn't he go back to what he was doing at the beginning of the season? I mean, the way I look at it with Wicks is he's a bigger player, just like Christian Watson. He plays split end. Like you're not all of a sudden going to move Jaden Reed to split end. You're not going to move Romeo Doubs. So I could see Dontavian Wicks picking up a big snap share and it still ends up being Wicks and Dobbs full time with Jaden Reed staying in the role he's in. I mean,
Right.
Reed could pick up more targets, right? Because, the targets might be distributed differently. And also they can't really run 2 tight end sets anyway without Luke Musgrave. But I could see Wicks picking up a ton
Ben
of snaps.
Sims.
Look out now. Touchdown, Big Benny. But yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see them moving Wicks up into a full-time role because early in the year, that's basically what he was playing, right? Like he was playing virtually every snap.
Yeah, he was 60, between 55 and 65% of the routes for the first 4 weeks of the season. And then obviously Watson came back in week 5. Bye week, he kind of took a bit of a dip, but, the Packers seem to be trusting him a little bit more, at least in a limited role. And if that can grow, that's somebody you at least want kind of stashed away on your bench. I'd rather have him than like a Tyler Boyd who I'm never starting.
Right.
And who threw an interception last night and even lowered
That's pretty
his
gross.
floor. Like, what happened? I had taken Jake Browning more than a half an interception, and I came back in from getting some water, and I was like, yeah, it happened. And then I was like, wait, what? That was Tyler Boyd? What is he doing throwing passes?
Brutal. How do you miss Josh Allen? He's a big fellow, right?
Right.
He just went invisible, straight on invisible.
Invisibility cloak, dude.
Yeah.
Classic.
I don't know
Get you
how
every
it happened.
time.
Yeah.
Let's get over to Adam real quick with this question. With the Trevor Lawrence injury, can that actually help Evan Ingram? CJ Beathard threw to him a few times after he came into the game, but is the offense just not designed for the tight end? Thanks. I think it's pretty well designed for, especially with now Christian Kirk out with a core muscle injury. We saw, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones. I mean, it's still Evan Ingram is one of the leading targeters on that team. And then Parker Washington came on pretty well with, I believe, a 661 and a touchdown. So look, that was like a next man up thing. It stinks for Kirk, but I think Evan Ingram's still in a good spot. CJ Beathard's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. The Jets would be falling over themselves trying to get somebody even half as good as him right now. But if it's CJ Beathard, granted, you don't have the confidence that you had with Trevor Lawrence, but I still think it's a good situation for Ridley and Ingram. Maybe you're lowering Zay Jones a little bit, but I mean, Parker Washington's kind of emergence has to be at least taken into account for.
Yeah, I wouldn't say better, but we have to remember CJ Beathard, drafted by the 49ers in the 3rd round. They went out in the same draft, took his roommate from college that was his favorite target in the 5th round, and that was George Kittle. So CJ Beathard definitely crushed it with old George Kittle, man. And I think that, again, Trevor Lawrence is obviously better. It's a downgrade for everybody, but Ingram is he's going to be just fine. And the matchups are pretty good for him, so I have no problem with Ingram.
Yep,
Yeah.
I agree. And he broke the seal. He finally got the touchdown last night. So floodgates are open, man.
That was
an
bingo
early
card.
Christmas present.
Check mark, by the way, on the CJ Beathard George Kittle.
That they were teammates in college.
Yeah, that was the only reason why Kittle was drafted, because
that's right.
Gotta love it. Yeah. So I mean, Parker Washington kind of falls into that same kind of bucket too. I don't have really a lot of confidence in that, but at least it's someone to watch. If he can grab a sizable role. I mean, Zay Jones is fine, but what was Parker Washington was a 4th round pick out of Penn State? 3rd, 4th? I can't remember. If
he'll be fine. He's gonna fill in for Christian Kirk. And what they'll do is, before Kirk, we kind of rotate with Zay Jones, and now it'll probably be Zay Jones and Ridley every snap, and Parker Washington as the 3rd man. But as we saw yesterday, I mean, the guy can ball. Great play on that touchdown.
I think it's going to be another situation where it's really matchup dependent, depending on whether or not it's zone or man, because we've talked, or I have at least ad nauseum, about how bad Calvin Ridley is against man coverage. And we saw it last night. He got 8 targets, and a couple of them were very deep bombs, very catchable, went through his hands, but he was draped in that defender and just couldn't make the play. So he only ended up with 4 receptions for 26. I think if it goes to zone, then it steers away from Parker Washington a little bit and much more towards Ridley. But he still, if you're out there and you're getting looks, especially backup to backup, these guys practice together And it can be one of the most uncanny combos for fantasy that you would never think of, just because they have practiced together and they know the book and they have that relationship that he may not have with the first teamers.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I think of with that is Trevor Siemian and Xavier Gibson, just play the Kobe and Shaq video of them coming up.
Yep.
100%.
Absolutely.
The good thing about like certain roles within these offenses, Ingram, for instance, leads all tight ends and screens this year. And those are kind of like freebies, right? You saw the screens yesterday. It's like those are, especially in full PPR leagues, those are free targets. And Christian Kirk was getting a decent number of those too. So Parker Washington probably going to pick those up. In fact, this year, if you look at the screens, it's literally just Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk getting them for that team. Zay Jones has exactly 0. And, Calvin Ridley has a couple. I think he has like 6, but you can bank on those for those players.
Yeah. I just want to throw this out there. I don't think any podcast in the history of podcasts has ever thought about Parker Washington to this extent before. So we are breaking new ground here. I just want
deep segment.
Lot of deep cuts here. As the only first look show, who will be doing a showdown lineup for Patriots and Steelers.
Do we have to?
We have to.
We are contractually obligated, of course, to bring that kind of hard-hitting analysis to everybody, which we will be doing in about a half an hour or so before we wrap up the show. But Britt, what do you think as far as some last-minute advice for fantasy playoff teams heading into the playoffs?
I think that year after year, the overthinking monster gets to everybody. You're looking for playoffs. Obviously, this is a must win from here on out with playoffs. But I think people get scared off of some of their studs just because they have bad matchups. They want to put in a guy with a lower snap share who has a better matchup and just completely galaxy brain the entire thing. And then, even if it's more of a floor game for your stud player, could be higher than the ceiling for that random guy that you put in. So don't fall into that trap of just solely looking at matchups. This is the time of the year where you take everything, snaps, targets, routes, everything, just put it in a nice little layer cake along with the matchups and take everything together, because looking at one thing solely, that one thing will really cost you going forth in your matchups.
Yeah, that's I think the real key to that is try and separate your studs from the players that are in kind of just in the mix, right? Separate like who's actually a can't miss guy, and just forget about matchups. Honestly, with a lot of those guys, like a lot of these guys, like when you look
Collins now,
right? When you go back and look at the actual plays, like the best example would be AJ Brown. You go back and look at watch the highlights, watch the actual plays with AJ Brown. He's never even open, right? Like the guy's not even open. He comes back, he gets the ball, he creates separation. He does like at the catch point, he just goes up and takes it away. Like that guy's making plays no matter what. Like he's going to figure it out. So with guys like that, definitely don't go there. With everybody else, they're all in the formula, right? But things like that to me end up being tiebreakers. So you look at Travis Kelce and TJ Hockenson and Sam Laporta, and in my opinion, Trey McBride now with Nose Eckerts, like that crew of guys, you just start them. I don't care if they play the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Browns are so much better than every other team versus the tight end. It's not even close. They're first in yards, touchdowns, everything, DVOA. They're still first in that. They're first in every single thing there. Even against that team, I don't care. It's in the mix where it's like, okay, we're talking about back end tight end ones versus tight end twos. If your best tight end is a back end tight end one, then you should have 2 tight ends. So, and we'll get to that point in a little bit, because that goes into what my point is, on the big thing. But to Britt's point, don't go crazy with the nitpicking and the little things. And same thing for the other side, because we do it on the other side with the good matchups where we say like, oh, so-and-so is hurt, so now I got to get this guy in here. Even though we've never used that guy all season and it's just a theory, relying on these theories is how you lose one game. And if you lose one matchup, your season's over.
Right. I think a good case in point with that's like Robert Woods. Now with everybody shifting up in Houston, I understand some of the. I would rather much start Noah Brown, but like galaxy braining Robert Woods being able to try to get a 20% target share in that offense, I think is unrealistic. So that would be a guy where you could absolutely galaxy brain yourself into starting him, and then you get a 3 for 21 in your toast.
There you go. Start Robert Woods this week against the Jets. See how that goes.
Twitch gang in here. Brett McCoy. I'm gonna put on my sunglasses for that.
Brett, where your Twitch glasses at? Get them going.
I don't have them.
Wow, Brad. She doesn't have them.
Sorry.
You're letting our boy Brad down, dude. Come on. Twitch gang in the house.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Twitch gang here, like always, looking good in those glasses. Big trade question here. Should I trade Mahomes, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Monty for CJ Stroud, Justin Jefferson, and HN? My other running backs are Ken Walker and Ramondre, who are both hurt. So trading Mahomes, Amon-Ra, and David Montgomery for Stroud, Jefferson, and HN.
So this goes to Britt's point to some degree, where it's like, do you start the guys that got you there, or do you, at the very last minute, trade your entire team for a brand new team?
Mm-hmm. And I want to say, as good as HN was last week, I feel like that was a very false sample size of what we could have seen out of him. I think out of the 16 touches that he got, 11 were in the fourth quarter, something like that, something just very, very skewed towards game script. So I don't necessarily, I love the talent of HN, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily know that he's going to be that guy going forward. With Monty, with Amon-Ra, with Mahomes, I know Mahomes has even been a little disappointing, but we've seen what these guys have to offer. We've seen what they can do. Stroud, obviously losing Tank Dell hurts his value a little bit. They do have the Titans 2 of those weeks, so not a bad idea. Jefferson, who is even going to be the quarterback there, because they're evaluating Josh Dobbs. So we don't even know who his quarterback's going to be. So I don't feel great about that. And then again, the usage of HN could have just been very game script based. So I don't think that I'm making that trade.
Right. It's like you got to trade away. You have Amon-Ra and Monty this whole time. You got to trade them away right before they play Chicago, Denver, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Even the game versus Dallas, like Dallas, we think is the better team and they have very good defense. But we've seen a lot of games this year where at a certain point, the good offenses find a way to turn the games into real games, right? Like I don't necessarily think that Dallas is just going to crush Detroit or that Detroit's not going to be able to score. I think Dallas wins that game, but I think that that's a game that could be one of these games that we see that are great games, right? Like Buffalo and Philly have good defenses, right? But you put 2 good teams together, and sometimes you get a good game. Sometimes you get overtime, and those are the best games for fantasy.
Yeah. Or sometimes you just get a confluence of, events like Seattle. Just Geno Smith had the best game of his season. DK Metcalf had 3 touchdowns. JSN almost had a touchdown that was called a touchdown or reversed. Talking about that on my Target Report Bullet Points video. Trust me, I will be starting JSN where I can because I am a crazy person. But I can't make this trade under any circumstances. I go with the girl who dance with the girl you brought to the dance. Like, not to mention butcher that phrase, but whatever.
This is what you actually kind of quietly wanted for Kansas City. Like they haven't been steamrolling, but now they have to play for keeps. Dude. There's no people talk about down the stretch, and we saw it one year with Buffalo where I swear they when they had the AFC East locked up, nobody was even close. They were running Devin Singletary the last few weeks. Remember that, Kev? He won all those underdog best balls because he scored 6 touchdowns over the last 4 weeks. I'm not sure they would have done that if they didn't have everything locked up. Kansas City is scratching and clawing, trying to keep their name in the top seed and even make sure they have a good seed and win the division because they're 8-4 right now. I mean, they're still scrapping, right? So,
and it only took them 12 weeks to give Rashee Rice a usable route share too. But look, we can't win them all. We all got to go at our own pace. But look, they actually have a wide receiver 1 now. Their wide receiver 1, certainly not a fancy one, but look, anytime, maybe, hopefully,
but maybe. I wish that with Rashee Rice, you look around at the teams in this league, right, and the star players or even just the best wide receivers on teams are playing every damn snap, and at the very least, right, they're running a decent number of routes, right? Like Kev, so you do your utilization report. Let's say a team is going to throw the ball 40 times. How many routes is the top wide receiver running of 40? some of them like Michael Pittman
between
are running
36
40.
and 40.
Right. Exactly. And they're running at least, even like a Zay Flowers is going to live in like 34, 35, 36.
Right. And like Tyreek Hill comes off the field random times too. So he's an anomaly though. Because
Tyreek Hill doesn't count, dude. He had he had a zillion points this week. He ran 18 routes. He's just like, nah, I'm good. Right. I'll get him next play. Right.
Tebow had like 2 touches and, was the wide receiver 1.
Right. This team, 44 pass plays this week, and the top route runners were obviously Travis Kelce ran 42, but Rashee Rice only ran 31. Justin Watson ran 27. If this team was operating like most of the other teams in the league, Rashee Rice would be running 39 routes, 38 routes. And if that's the case, now his 100-yard game is like a 150-yard game. So it's annoying for fantasy football purposes that they don't trust this guy the way virtually every other team in the league does. What team is doing that? What team has their top wide receiver playing 65% of the snaps besides like the 2019 Ravens with like Willie Snead as their top wide receiver? Like teams, I just let the kid ball, man. Come on.
I have an answer.
What?
Luke Getsy. Or not Luke Getsy, but what's his name? The other Chicago guy.
Same thing, dude. Yeah. Matt Nagy.
Nagy, yeah.
Yeah,
probably other Chicago adjacent person.
Like
unreal. You hate to see it. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah, it's silly, dude. I'm done. Like, how many times do I have to see Kadarius Toney go out there and run the wrong way? Like the actual wrong way. Like it's crazy, man.
Or MVS being unable to track a deep ball or catch a deep ball or do anything close to.
Yeah, even it sucks for MVS.
Can't even draw an interference properly.
I was gonna say it's got to the point where like nobody even has sympathy for him, right?
If
like
he
the interference, the refs are literally just like, yeah, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
No. Anyway. Like if he wasn't making $10 million right now, he would be the wide receiver 5 on the Panthers.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty clear. He would be Amir Smith-Marset.
Crazy how spoiled he's been compared to some of these other guys, like him. Playing with Rodgers and Mahomes. Brandon Cooks played with Drew Brees and Brady and like kind of prime Goff. Like Goff wasn't terrible then. And then he played with Deshaun Watson. Like Brandon Cooks got to play with, now he's with Dak Prescott, right? And then there's DJ Moore, right? Then there was Andre Johnson playing with
Andre Johnson, had to play with Tom Savage. No, that was DeAndre Hopkins.
Both of them. Who did Andre Johnson's best quarterback for fantasy football was probably Matt Schaub. Matt Schaub, dude.
Well, TJ Yates might have been the second best.
Yeah, that's a player, right?
That is that's a future coach.
That's a guy,
right? It's just crazy that the way it goes for some of these guys, man. And then we have to judge them. We have to sit back and say, okay, well, this guy gets to go in the Hall of Fame, but this guy doesn't. It's like, is that Andre Johnson's fault, dude? I don't know.
Yep,
that is true. Rex here with a serious-ish question. Drop round 16 Zach Wilson in a 6-player keeper league. 1 round escalation each subsequent year. I mean,
on what planet is he going to be one of your 6 keepers, dude?
Yeah.
If it was a 16-player keeper league, maybe.
Yeah. Does anybody see a world where Zach Wilson is one of the 32 starters in the next 2 years?
So that's the thing. Not in the next couple of years. Like those guys go back into the mixer, and then you have to grind your way.
He has to Geno Smith.
Yeah. It's like because you're not going to get a starting gig. So now,
and that is such a low percentage range of outcome for him to do that. Like
you have to go be Mitch Trubisky for a little bit.
Oof, that's a rough analogy.
Right, hey, he's gonna start next week. So
he's gonna be in our showdown lineup.
No,
I mean but for real though, I mean you can't start the Patriots. You don't even know if the quarterback's gonna play the whole game.
The game total is what, 30 points?
30.
30. Yep. That's legit. That was the game total for
New Orleans and Denver.
Yeah, Taysom Hill and Kendall Hinton.
The Kendall Hinton game. I was gonna say that would be the only game that could come close to that.
That's like Iowa versus Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball.
Iowa. What would the over-under be for Iowa versus Iowa? Hypothetical Iowa versus Iowa college football.
8.5.
I want to say that this did happen last year, and it was like 9. I
Yeah,
think it was something single digits, like very, very, very
what's
low.
the over under for the Steelers game is being played in the Steelers game is being played in Pittsburgh. There is a game at Gillette Stadium this week. Do you know what game is being played at Gillette?
No.
Army Navy at Gillette this week. I
Oh,
wonder
of
what
course.
Gillette?
that probably has a higher over under. Yeah, they're doing Army. Bill Belichick is just like,
Yeah, okay.
He knows a guy who knows a guy.
He bought a lot. He named the library, so
dude, he got Meek Mill out of jail. Like if Bill Belichick wants to do something, like it's gonna happen, bro.
Yeah, he's got carte blanche, I suppose. But
yeah,
that reminds me. I went to Iowa Penn State. This is 2004.
Over under for that game is 28, so it's not even far. 27.5 Adam Bernard has. I was seeing 28, so not even far off from an Army Navy triple option slugfest.
Oof.
But that game was 6-4.
Which game?
Iowa and Penn State in 2004. 6-4.
Oh my God, 2 safe. It was all safeties. It was.
I mean, I was not of this
safeties.
world. I was not of this world when the game kicked off, but I was in attendance.
Adam Bernard wants to know if that was a baseball game.
That was not. The Iowa Cubs did not hit 2 3-run homers. I promise you.
I've been to hockey games with more points.
So have I.
That's insane.
Coop, your advice for playoff teams heading into the last week of the regular season and week 15. Most of leagues heading into the playoffs in that week.
Yeah. So my advice, I'm glad we went in this order. We didn't do it on purpose, but my advice kind of combines both of your advice, which is to reinforce your lineup, right? Sit down and take a second to evaluate your lineup, right? Take Britt's advice and go through and say, these are my studs. These guys, unless they get injured, I'm stapling them into the lineup and they're just going to stay there, right? And if you go through and you have, 4 or 5 wide receivers that are just locked in, like you're going to use all those guys, even the guy on the bench you would put right in for an injury, take whatever's left over, get rid of it, and reinforce your lineup, right? Look around where you're weak, and it could be any position. This is where we take all the stuff from, and this is what separates the real winners from the losers, is at the draft, we have this mindset, like Kev talks about, where we don't want pure handcuffs, we want upside, we're not drafting 2 defenses. Some people aren't drafting 2 tight ends, especially if you have a really good one. Here, turn around and say, you know what? Where am I weak? Am I going up against guys that have great defenses? Maybe I do want to play matchups with my defenses. Maybe I do want to have 2 tight ends in case of emergency. Maybe I do, probably not kickers, definitely not kickers. But, maybe with quarterbacks, you look around and say, hey, do I trust this guy rest of the way? I'm going to start him, but do I trust him explicitly? Maybe not. Maybe I will get another one. You don't need to have 9 wide receivers on your team at this stage, right? Unless wide receiver is your weakest spot, and then load up at wide receiver, right? But reinforce what you're looking to do. And sometimes that means if your team is depending heavily on Christian McCaffrey, if he's your best player, then maybe you do use a spot on Elijah Mitchell. Maybe you go out and say, okay, you know what? I'm making sure that if I lose, it's not going to be because of this one thing. So reinforce your lineup where it is weak and where you have potential for most fragility, which a lot of times is running back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can't disagree with that, certainly. And then
especially if it's like for instance, I'm with Britt that with Dalton Schultz out and we don't know how he's going to come back. Brevin Jordan is a guy that you potentially got to add off the wire if you are struggling, right? But here's the thing. It's like, let's say you have a bye week and Brevin Jordan goes out versus the Titans and does nothing. You're not going to start Brevin Jordan against the Browns next week and again versus the Titans. So you might as well have 2 guys, right? So if you're struggling at tight end, add a Brevin Jordan, but don't just sit back and say, problem solved, right?
Toss in Tucker Kraft, baby.
Tucker Kraft, Isaiah Likely, anybody in that range, like you can look at it and say, oh, you know what? Like even if, worst case scenario, you say, you know what, I'll start Brevin Jordan here, but maybe against the Browns, I'll start Isaiah Likely instead. So I don't have to start Jordan there. Like it's okay to plan ahead like that. You don't have to stick to the plan, but just make sure you have pivots for positions, especially like that.
Right. You don't want to be scrambling and then having to start Jonnu Smith and just throw a 0 in your lineup. Like you don't want that.
What's up, Mile High Luke?
What's
Go,
up?
baby. Yeah, so they're Rex Mothi's pointed out there are 3 games below an over-under of 33.
There's a ton of weather happening this week, and I know that it's a long ways out, but pretty much the entire East Coast, Great Lakes area, is supposed to get snow and also 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. So those over-unders have just been tanking.
So the Browns...
Patriots, Steelers, obviously, Jets, Texans in New York, and then looks like Browns, Jaguars, 30.5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'd be great about those lakes if they didn't screw with my football.
Especially at this time of the year. It's always this time of the year that the weather just comes in with a vengeance. And I'm like, can we invest in some domes, guys? Right, I get the whole experience of fall football, but this is winter football.
And it's always the Browns.
Always the Browns.
Remember that Saints-Browns game last year?
Yeah.
Because they think it's an advantage. They think and the Patriots, it was an advantage for a long time. You know what I mean? But like the Bills, they're another team that thinks it's an advantage. But when you look at the way that Josh Allen plays and where he plays, he's actually not an advantage for him. You know, it's an advantage having a retractable roof, so you can do whatever the heck you want.
Bingo.
I remember the pushback when Buffalo said that when they're gonna put the plans to build their stadium and the retractable roof, and the pushback that the fans gave upon that.
They don't like change up there, man. They just want to be freezing cold in the Ralph, dude. That's what they know. That's what they know.
How are we going to jump through tables if it's sunny or if it's air conditioned?
You can still jump through a table if it's 60 degrees or 0 degrees.
Yeah, but how's the snow going to get in there to cushion your fall?
That's true.
Real fans don't need a cushion. What are you talking about? Back in my day.
Yeah, this week is set up. I'm not going to lie. I'm slightly nervous about this week just because I really don't know what's going to happen. Because I think it was last year with the Bengals and Browns when there wasn't any snow, but there was a ton of wind. And even Adam Schefter got out there in his pregame report and he's like, I don't know how either team is going to be able to throw in this. Because he was standing there and his clothes were just almost pulling off his body. So we all panicked and pulled Joe Burrow. And what happened? Burrow had a wonderful game. But we all, again, overreacted to those pregame reports, the weather reports. We didn't take everything into context. And sometimes we just don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
It's pretty agreed upon that from what I've seen from a lot of players talking about that snow itself, just regular old snow, is actually benefits the offense, not the defense, because they're the ones that know the play. They don't have to change on a dime. And there is something to be said. I know it's easier nowadays, but having an equipment team that knows how to deal with that and get the right cleats on these guys, right? Like using things as small as using leather gloves instead of the synthetic gloves, that matters. Like nowadays, everybody knows that, but that used to be a big advantage of teams that know how to play in snow versus teams that don't. So I think nowadays everybody's got the at least somebody that knows what the heck is going on. But some of these players, they haven't played in the snow for 4 years, right? Whereas some teams play it every year. So it is interesting. But yeah, the snow definitely helps. I don't know what it was. LaShawn McCoy was he was built in he's the Frosty the Snowman. Whenever it would snow, he would steamroll teams, man. Other guys, not so much. But I don't know.
It always made me excited to see McCoy play in snow.
What the heck, man? He's just he's got that, he runs he has no neck, and he still holds the ball in one hand like this, dude. Just McCoy was a different beast, man. He was a different character.
He was awesome, certainly. Chargy 65. I'm worried about Herbert, Minshew, Browning, and Dobbs are available. Should I add one of these for a possible change? The Minnesota is so up in the air that I'm not. Dobbs isn't in consideration for me. Minshew would be the only one that I would even remotely consider, but I think you're still just rolling Herbert. You got to lie in the bed you sleep in. And I mean, what is their playoff schedule looking like? We're looking at Cincy, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. It's middle of the road. I don't know if I'm taking him over Herbert. I mean, Herbert has Denver, the Raiders, Buffalo. I don't know if I'd pivot to Minshew in any of those, honestly.
Yep. And I think Herbert, people are just looking at the stat line, but he
They
had
just played in a
receivers
6-0 game. That's going to skew a lot of people.
Well, and his receivers dropped 5 passes. You can't do anything when your receivers aren't catching the passes. Also, Joshua Palmer coming back is going to help him massively. Even against Denver, Keenan Allen plays out of the slot half the time that he's lined up, and Pat Surtain doesn't really move over into the slot, so he should be fine there. So I think I would still roll with Herbert, but I'm in agreement. Minshew out of any of these guys, because as good as Browning was last night, was that his Will Levis game where he came out, did an amazing thing, and then he's just going to fall off the rest of the year. I need to see more from him before I trust him.
Yeah, that might be the best game of his career, honestly.
The Patriots are they're still an annoying team to play against. They're not a good team to play against for fantasy football because they just muddle the ball on their side. The special teams are good to find, which is obviously like teams that can't move the ball and they just punt it and put you back at your 10-yard line. That sucks for fantasy, right? And then, they're good I think they're like 2 or 3 in DVOA versus the run at this stage, but it's like the Pats are just imagine how annoying the Patriots would be if Judon and Christian Gonzalez didn't get hurt. It would have been the absolute black hole for fantasy. It would have been the Jets, basically.
Yeah. And now they've lost Ramondre, and now they lost to Mario Douglas and Kendrick Bourne, and
it's the worst team, dude.
Really is. What are we doing? But look,
give me a quarterback. Bring me Caleb Williams. Bring me Drake May.
Well,
bring me Shadur Sanders.
You're getting the next.
God.
Imagine that.
You're getting the next Cole Strange, and you're gonna like it.
If they took Shadur Sanders at 2 overall, oh my God, the media here would lose their mind, dude.
It would be the
Michael Felger's head would explode.
It would be the grandpa meme, I'm taking Shadur Sanders. All right, grandpa, let's get you to bed.
All right, grandpa, right? And just Belichick, can you imagine Belichick dealing with Coach Prime? He would be Coach Prime would be out there with a grappling hook, climbing into the stadium, trying to get in those meetings. And now I want to see it bad. Here's what I want to see. I want to see the Patriots draft Shadur Sanders, and then I want to see the Celtics draft Bronny James.
Oh my God.
And just force LeBron to come play for the Celtics.
Oh my goodness.
Team chaos, baby. Let's go.
Team chaos. Well, you know what? We're going to get into it a little bit early here. If you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And also like and subscribe to Fancy Alarm. We got to feed our kids somehow. So we're going to get into this a little bit early because I know obviously Alarm of Fantasy Football is coming up at the top of the hour. But against our will, we are locked into a room, our respective rooms, having to manage this showdown slate with the Patriots and Pittsburgh Steelers. So yeah, speaking of team, this is the Team Chaos showdown build, by the way.
Which kicker do we make captain? Get Matthew Slater in there. I'm trying to see if there's the thing with matchups like this. The thing like matchups like this is there's no reason to pay down and use one of the $300 players because you're saving money for what reason?
Right. There's no point.
Right.
Pat Frymuth.
It's probably Deontay Johnson, right?
Probably, yeah.
Or Zeke, but nobody wants that.
No, not even I want it. And I love
keep a space for Ty Montgomery, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Just saying.
I cannot.
So you can't be bringing up Ty Montgomery. Howard Bender will hear, and then we'll all be in trouble.
You can direct him to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Our producer, Adam Bernard. That might be the first time someone said save a spot for Ty Montgomery.
Yeah. So currently, right now, as it stands, the Patriots are the number 2 team in DVOA versus the run. Mm-hmm. Whether you strictly go by DVOA, I still personally believe that strictly against the run, the Titans are better. I think the Jaguars are better. I'd still probably throw the Browns and maybe the Ravens in there, but you can't really name, if you wanted to, if you wanted to go against DVOA, you can't really name 10 teams that are better against the run than the Patriots. So it's really not a good spot no matter how you slice it, right?
Yeah, so I guess we got to eat our vegetables and take Deontay Johnson as our captain here.
I mean, I guess.
Zeke. I want to root for Zeke. Get Zeke in there.
Okay.
Zeke is fun.
Zeke captain?
Not captain. Deontay captain, but can we get Zeke in the lineup? Britt.
Yeah.
Come on. We got to push for this.
With all the volume that he's going to get, plus the uncertainty quarterback, the Patriots have run the ball like 26 times over the past 3 games. So just that volume alone is going to be there.
Yeah. And look, I just want to put this on public record. I did include Zeke Elliott in my target report bullet points video. Against my will. There was held captive while I had to write that script and record that video. So I just want to make that publicly known that he is, I was touting him in that video.
How the turns have tabled.
No shit. So this is we got a lot of forks in the road here with
Demario Douglas did not clear protocol. So sometimes these guys come out of the weekend and they clear protocol, and then it's like, okay, on coming out of the weekend, not clearing protocol for a Thursday game is not good. That's bad.
Right.
Yep.
That's real bad. Because now he's got to clear protocol, tomorrow?
Yep.
Or he at least needs to return as a limited participant to practice tomorrow. They didn't even list him as a limited participant. They listed him as non-participant in the estimated practice report.
Yep.
Hear me out. Deep ball for Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Got to catch one, right?
Get him in there.
I mean, he had like 3 shots last week. Who knows? They could have scored a touchdown last week.
Yeah. Chat, what do you guys think?
This is just so gross. I'm just like, I'm trying to not show my disdain for this slate.
This is like eating a dinner of like broccoli and no bacon Brussels sprouts and just any of the.
I think it's eating a dinner of nails.
I like Brussels sprouts.
I do too.
It's a good show, but you can't just have broccoli and Brussels sprouts, right? So let's start from the other side then and say both these teams are not good matchups for tight ends. I love putting tight ends in, but in this case, Hunter Henry doesn't even play the whole game. Mike Gesicki played 5 snaps last week, so like I'm not starting Patriots tight end. Do we start Freiermuth? It's not. It's again the Patriots are pretty good versus tight end as well.
I would actually lean towards Trubisky and then try to get one or both defenses in, because at least Trubisky, I know his accuracy is horrible, but at least he can run a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Who knows? These Patriots could be his Lions.
They know what we're up to because they made the defenses really expensive. The Steelers defense is like more expensive than any wide receiver on the Patriots.
Yeah, that's sad.
I mean, flat out, but by 1,000.
Yeah.
By 1,000.
But I put it.
Yeah,
you can't start. If you start Steelers, then there's not any good options there. Devontae Parker. If you start Steelers, it's like you could start both defenses actually.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Just because I don't really think.
The game could literally be one touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
And and then Zeke and Thornton, and then a whole lot of nothing.
It could be a 14-10 game. Zeke gets touchdown, Thornton gets deep ball. Deontay gets like 8 receptions for like 47 yards.
You can get Trubisky in there.
You can get anybody in there now.
Yeah, I don't feel bad putting Trubisky in.
Get the biscuit in there, baby. Let's go.
The biscuit.
You don't feel bad, but you definitely don't feel good.
No, I don't feel good about any of this. This is horrible.
Yeah. Adam says 16-10 Steelers, and the game is over in an efficient 2.5 hours. I do like that.
In
case you're double parked.
Watch this game be like absolute electric shootout.
Probably, right?
Okay. We got some questions in the chat. Let's hit those puppies. I don't want to think about that game.
Right? Yeah, just get it off the plate. We finished. Whatever.
Yes. We did it. Mom, look, clean plate.
Done.
I have Josh Allen, one quarterback.
Just broccoli all on your lap and like in your pocket.
The dog,
it to the dogs.
Even the dog, it doesn't want it. It's like throwing it up in the corner.
Right.
One quarterback redraft league. Should I drop Kyler for Tajay Spears, Roshan, or Zeke? Or could get handcuffs for my RBs, Dowdle, and Algier available? Derrick Henry's, I believe, in the protocol. So, I don't.
He's not in the protocol.
He's not in the protocol. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Zeke, I mean, he's probably your best
Yeah.
option. If you're going to, obviously, you have Josh Allen, so you're not starting him.
But Lex, before I do moves like that, I always take a little peek around at the other playoff teams, right, and see who might sit there and be like, oh yes, like thank goodness they, like if the number one team in your league was starting Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if you want to be dropping Kyler. Like, so take a look around and see, like, if you look around and all the other playoff teams have like Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts and Dak and Lamar Jackson, then yeah, drop Kyler because you're not helping anybody. But I would just be hesitant to be giving up anybody that could be useful and helping your toughest opponents.
Right.
Yep. That's my point. Exactly. You stated it perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I completely get that. I don't know what your other running backs are too. I'm guessing if you get handcuffs or running backs, so I'm assuming you have Bijan and Pollard as you're talking about. So, I mean, you're looking right now at the RB3, RB4. I don't know if that's worth dropping Kyler Murray. And yeah, to Coop's point, 100%, you could be helping out somebody if they're rostering, low end QB1 options. If they're rostering a Herbert, where you could be giving them another option to start a Kyler if you drop him. So yeah, I'm with you there. Check and see who your opponents have as far as quarterback goes. And then rank these tight ends in waiver priority in the ship and FFPC. Need a McBride replacement for week 14. Of course, famously, tight end premium, and they are on a bye with the Commanders. So Brevin, Jordan, Tucker Kraft, Noah Gray, Colin Granton, Drew Sample, and of course the illustrious Adam Troutman.
Yeah, you're not going to go down to Gray, Granson, Troutman, or Sample. It's going to be Brevin or Kraft. The thing that sucks is that neither have a great matchup. The Jets are tougher versus the tight end than the numbers dictate. Like the DVOA, that's one of the teams that has the biggest difference between points against and DVOA, because I think in this case, DVOA is a little more accurate because they let up touchdowns to Pharaoh Brown had an 80-yard touchdown. Luke Schoonmaker had a touchdown. Noah Gray had a touchdown. These aren't the primary tight ends. They weren't getting primary tight end coverage. So I think the Jets are kind of a tough matchup there. And that's going to be one of those weather games. So that's a tough one. Tucker Kraft goes against the Giants, who are quietly the one thing that team is good at, maybe on the entire team, is covering the tight end, because they have Bobby Okereke, they have Xavier McKinney. They actually do have, obviously they have Saquon Barkley, but like that's like the one thing that team's good at. But I think I would go Tucker Kraft in that case, especially with Christian Watson banged up, simply because that game feels like it's going to be a more competitive game. They're favored to win. The implied point total is a lot higher. That Jets game could just be a mess.
Yeah, I think it's going to be gross.
Right. Yeah. And who knows? That has the makings of a trap game for Green Bay, where that game could be a lot closer than people think too, where maybe they're coming off of that, the high of the Chiefs game. I'm not saying not take the Giants seriously, but at least the Giants are going to be up for that game. Maybe the Packers are kind of languishing a little bit. That could be one of those like 21-14 games that, Green Bay's or the Giants are in it far longer than they have any right to be.
Yeah. And, it's only a 1 week start. So you just worry about this 1 week. You go back to Trey McBride after this. And also that game's on Monday night, and that's more fun. So There you go.
We're full agreement here. That is the saddest showdown I've ever seen. That being said, it will probably cash. We're gonna put it in. We'll
5 tight end, not bad. Yeah. Connor Hayward.
Yeah. Angie in the chat. We're gonna hit these real quick. Hi gang. Waiver question for you. Would you rather roll in the week 14 with Beathard or DeVito? Had Cousins and Kyler on bye, but somehow still made the playoffs. I'm feeling Beathard. I don't know. No. With the implied point total, I think
it's Beathard. I was sitting here like Beathard.
It's Beathard.
It's a better team. Better team.
It is a better team.
If we're talking about, we're talking about a couple of bad race car drivers here, at least one of them's driving a Ferrari,
not a Ford Tempo.
El Camino.
No, El Camino has a little bit of a class.
What car do you think? What car do you think Tommy DeVito drives?
A Pinto.
Toyota Tercel.
A Pinto where like he kicks the door and it opens.
Mhm.
Like that's the only way to get the door. He just kicks it, it pops open.
Kicks it and like a foot of snow comes off the underside.
AB saying the Camaro, dude. He would be like a Camaro guy.
An IROC.
The IROCs. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in fifth, one league where 4th through 8th have the same record, separated by points. Could potentially block 4th in waivers that has no replacement for thoughts. I mean, hey, if you could play,
I gotta jump on this one. I just reminded by AB in the chat that I got lightning round the alarm fantasy football coming up next. So I gotta go get set up for that. Catch you guys over there.
Sounds like Plan Coop. We'll just hit these super quick and then we will be out of here. Yeah, if you could play the strategy game, like absolutely. As long as you're not just crippling your own bottom line here.
Yep. This is the time of year to play defense. If you're ever going to do it now.
Yep. Flacco or O'Connell. Look, anytime you can get a 38-year-old quarterback that can be as statuesque as possibly a quarterback can be, but you know what? He was still delivering like dimes to his
in
guys.
bad weather too, though.
Right, but still, he had all the time in the world to do that. I mean, I'm fine with Flacco. I mean, if he have to, in this specific decision, it's Flacco for me.
I don't know. I need to wait and see more how the weather develops. If they're actually going to get snow this week, then I don't want any part of Flacco.
Yeah, because they are going to be playing Minnesota indoors too. So that's, yeah, definitely. Pinto for sure.
The poop brown was the exact color that I'd imagined it in my mind.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? We will leave y'all on that exact thought. Thank you, Angie, for that incredible visual. But anything else, Britt, before we hop on out of here?
Just check out the waiver wire article over at Fantasy Alarm. Ton of good stuff. Maybe some additions due to last night's game and some more injury reports. And then matchup previews come out on Thursday.
Awesome. Target report bullet points video coming out later on today. Of course, target report on Thursday, Survivor article on Wednesday. So those will be coming down the pike in the next couple days. Stay tuned to these airwaves for Alarm Fantasy Football. Of course, Andrew Cooper, Howard Bender, getting you ready as well for the fantasy football playoff push. For the departed Coop, well, not departed, like departed. He's still here on this plane of existence. Just want to make that abundantly clear because you will see him in about 5 minutes here. For Coop, for Britt, I'm Kevin Tompkins, and we'll say toodles.